Hi, I'm Rajshri. Welcome back. Introduction to Business Communication. Let's understand what is interpersonal communication in this module. Interpersonal communication differs from the other forms of communication because it involves few participants. Interaction is held in a very close physical proximity to each other. Also, there are many channels used and feedback is immediate. One has to understand interpersonal is nothing but relating to or communication in between people. It can be a smaller team, it can be in between teams, it can be a larger group of people or organizational employees in the picture. Now we have to understand, how interpersonal skills is nothing but how humans use both verbal and non-verbal cues to understand each other. We are looking at, to understand each other to achieve personal goals, to achieve organizational goals. Now, let's look into the basic characteristics of interpersonal communication. The first one is interpersonal communication is inescapable. One has to understand inescapable means it cannot be avoided. It is an omnipresent situation in any context. Let it be organization, let it be, life as in general. The second part is nothing but interpersonal communication is irreversible. A process that cannot go back to its, earlier state is called irreversible. One has to understand that a communication once leave a sender, it cannot be undone. The third one, interpersonal communication is contextual. One has to understand contextual is nothing but, the content is dependent on the preceding or the following part of the text. You have to understand any communication is contextual. Interpersonal communication is complicated. Why do you say complicated? Because there is a group of people that is involved. People with prejudice, people with experience, people with schema of different, knowledge or different lineage that they come from. One has to understand that you have to, analyze, you have to understand on a smaller or a larger scale to decode these messages. Let's look into functions of interpersonal communication. As we all know, interpersonal is between people. You have to understand the interactions between people is to gain information. That is the basic requirement of communication. Second one is building understanding. We have to understand to exist, for an organization to exist, there is a need for employees to have trust, to have loyalty, to have understanding of the organizational goals. So it's very important that basic understanding is in the picture. The third one is establishing identity. With reference to that, when you're looking at identity, you're looking at organizational goals, when you're looking on a higher plane. When you look into a team, it is nothing but you identifying the team members. How do you do that? It is purely through interpersonal communication. Interpersonal need, as Maslow's law goes, very important aspect of any organization is to meet the need of the organization, meet the need of the employees, meet the need of the investors. So very important is the role of interpersonal communication. Now let's understand what are the barriers to overcome these interpersonal communication. First one is bypassing. Bypassing is nothing but it's a process where the people involved in the communication think they understand each other. We perceive when you are receiving the information. We perceive or we judge or we think about it on a different, understanding when we are going to levy the information. It's very important that you refrain from using those words which has more than one meaning in the context. The second one is frame of reference. Very important. You have to make sure that you are not bringing in bias. You're not getting expectations in between the communication. It's very important that it has to be crystal clear. The third one is lack of language skills. Very important, dialects play a big picture, big role in the, in the concept of understanding. Mother tongue influence, as we say, MTI, it plays a major role, how people stress on some words, how we speak or how we intonate our, our voices when we are in a conversation or in a communicating platform. The last one is nothing but distraction. It can be physical, it can be environmental. It's very important that the communications are done where there is least amount of distraction around. That is the reason we have these audio rooms or our training rooms, those are closed. The simple basic requirement is to make sure that it is devoid of any distraction. Thank you.